Have you ever looked at your bank statement and thought, man, I work so hard. Why am I still not where I want to be? And then you see that acquaintance who humiliated you years ago driving a BMW, posting vacation photos, living the life you dreamed of, and you think, life really isn't fair. Look, I completely understand that feeling, because 10 years ago, I was sleeping in my car with $347 in my pocket after my own father kicked me out without a penny. Last week, I bought his company for $12 million at a bankruptcy auction, and he had no idea the buyer was me. But here's what most people don't realize. This story isn't about revenge. It's about understanding something fundamental that separates people who get stuck in cycles of resentment from those who build real wealth. And if you don't understand this, you could win a $10 million lottery tomorrow and still end up broke in 5 years. Statistically, 70% of lottery winners end up bankrupt, according to a study by the National Endowment for Financial Education. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about the psychology of money and why smart people make terrible financial decisions when emotions are involved. If you're someone who has let pride, anger, or the desire to prove something sabotage your financial decisions, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and drop a like if this video helps you. Because the story I'm going to tell you today isn't just my story. It's a masterclass on what I call the architecture of financial revenge and how you can use these same principles, whether you're trying to overcome a toxic ex-boss, prove something to your family, or simply break cycles of poverty that have existed for generations. Let's start with something controversial. Revenge can be incredible fuel for about 90 days. When my father kicked me out, literally threw my stuff on the sidewalk because I wasn't man enough to work at his factory for the rest of my life, I was boiling. And that anger, it made me work 16 hours a day for 3 months. I got 2 jobs, slept in my car, saved 68% of my gross income. But here's the problem. A Stanford University study showed that motivation based on negative emotions has a half-life of approximately 12 weeks. After that, your brain literally can't maintain that intensity. It's pure biology. Your cortisol levels can't stay elevated forever, or you'll have a breakdown. And this is exactly where 95% of people who try to use proving them wrong as motivation end up quitting. So what did I do differently? I turned revenge into a system. Here's the thing. You can't build long-term wealth with anger, but you can use anger as the initial match that lights a self-sustaining system. I call this the 3-phase emotional fuel framework. Phase 1, weaponized anger, months 0 to 3. In the first 90 days after being kicked out, I used every ounce of anger to build momentum. I worked as an IT technician during the day, $18 an hour, and Uber driver at night, $25 an hour. I was making $5,200 per month gross, spending only $1,660. I did the math. If I kept that pace, in 8 months, I'd have $28,400 saved. It wasn't much, but it was my launch system. Here's the secret nobody tells you. In the first 3 months, you don't need to be strategic. You just need to be brutal in execution. Cut everything. Live like you're in survival mode, because you are. Now, you might be thinking, Nick, this sounds unsustainable, and you're absolutely right. By month 4, I was exhausted. The anger was turning into depression. I needed a psychological shift. That's when I stopped thinking, I'm going to prove my father wrong, and started thinking, I'm going to build something so valuable that even he will have to respect it. See the difference? The first is about him. The second is about me and about real value. I used my $22,000 saved to take 3 courses: Python/Data Science, $4,000, Advanced Excel and Financial Modeling, $1,200, and AWS Cloud Certification, $800. Total invested, $6,000. In 6 months, I landed a junior data analyst job for $72,000 a year, a 38% increase in my income. Phase 3, Compound System, Year 2 plus. This is where it gets really interesting. With my new salary, I could have relaxed, bought a better apartment, a decent car, but I understood something crucial. Real wealth doesn't come from earning more, it comes from multiplying money you already have. I kept my expenses exactly where they were, $1,650 per month. Now I was saving $3,850 per month after taxes. And here's the part that changed everything. Instead of letting that money sit idle, I studied obsessively about where my father had failed in his business. Here's what most people don't realize about buying your father's company at a bankruptcy auction. It didn't happen by luck. It happened because I spent 7 years studying exactly how businesses like his failed. My father's company was a mid-sized automotive components factory, revenue of $18 million a year, but margins of only 4 to 6%. He never adapted, never digitized, never automated. While I was building my career in tech, I observed. I learned about cash flow management. He always had 120 plus days of receivables. That kills businesses. High-cost debt. He had $4 million in loans at 11% a year. Insane. Lack of diversification. 62% of revenue came from one client. When that client left in 2019, it was the end. You know what I did with that knowledge? I built the opposite. I climbed to senior data analyst, $95K, then data science manager, $140K, then head of analytics, $210K. Each promotion, I maintained the same lifestyle of $20,000 per year. In parallel, I started a data analytics consulting business for small manufacturers. I charged $5,000 to $15,000 per project. First year, $47,000 extra. Second year, $128,000. Third year, $340,000. I invested aggressively in index ETFs, 70%, and growth stocks, 30%. Average return, 11% per year. After 7 years, I had $890,000 in liquid assets. When I received the email about my father's company auction, I didn't feel anger. I felt curiosity. Did I have the money to buy it? Yes, but should I? I did a complete financial analysis. The company was being sold for an estimated $8 to $14 million. It had physical assets of $6 million, but was bleeding $180,000 per month. Most investors saw a sinking ship. I saw a machine that just needed debt restructuring, process modernization, my specialty, client diversification. I had the contacts for my consulting. I formed an LLC, raised $5 million from investors, my $890,000 plus $4.11 million from partners, and placed a bid of $12 million. We won. My father found out 2 weeks later when I showed up as the new CEO. Now, look, I'm not telling you this story so you think revenge is the way, because it isn't. The real lesson here is negative emotions can be the initial fuel, but systems are what keep you moving. If I had stayed stuck in the anger phase, I'd still be driving Uber, bitter, posting on Reddit about how terrible my father was. Instead, I used emotion as the initial momentum, quickly transformed it into systematic learning, built real value that nobody could take from me, waited patiently for the right opportunity, and the craziest part is, after taking over the company, my relationship with my father improved. It's not perfect, probably never will be, but there's mutual respect now, because in the end, I didn't buy his company to humiliate him. I bought it because it was a good business, and because I had built the skills to make it thrive.
So, what can you do with this? 1. Identify your emotional fuel. Be honest. What motivates you now? Don't suppress it. Use it. 2. Give yourself 90 days of brutal intensity. Cut expenses, maximize income, build momentum. It's temporary. 3. On day 91, change your narrative from "I'll prove them wrong" to "I'll build something valuable." 4. Invest in high-return skills, not in things, in you. Certifications, courses, networking. 5. Study others' failures. There's more to learn from companies that failed than from successes. 6. Be patient with timing, aggressive with preparation. Opportunity comes when you're ready, not when you want it. If you made it this far, let me ask you a question. What's your "I'll prove them wrong" story? Because everyone has one. Everyone has that person who doubted you, that moment of humiliation, that "no, you can't." The question isn't if you're going to use it, the question is how. Are you going to let it consume you, or are you going to let it build you? I chose to build, and 10 years later, I'm here, CEO of a $50 million company, yes, we grew, with a net worth of $8.3 million, and finally at peace with the man who kicked me out. Not because he changed, but because I changed. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content about the psychology and math of building real wealth, and tell me in the comments, what was the rejection that motivated you to change your life? See you in the next video.